And joining me now on News Blitz is Onyi Sunday, a convener Educate to End Rape campaign. Onyi, thanks for joining us. This is really a heavy topic to talk about because it affects a lot of people, those we know and those we don't know. And unfortunately, in recent times, we've had this almost every other week. But first of all, what is your understanding of rape?
I think the definition really is universal, and that is the unlawful penetration of a man or woman, right, without their consent. And talking about lawful penetration, we're talking about any part of their body, be it their mouth, their anus, vagina, whatever it is. But as long as penetration was done unlawfully, and I purposely mentioned those parts of the bodies because most people feel as long as I didn't have sex with her, or as long as I didn't have let's put it that way, sex with her, then you can't say rape occurred. But you see the definitions keep evolving over time to include the mouth, to include the anus, to include the vagina as well. Now, we also understand that if you take a look at our laws, the Criminal Code, the Penal Code, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, that focus is on the rape of the female gender, right? So you see the focus remains around the vaginal area, but then times have changed because you see, I won't say times have changed, it's always been there, but really haven't put any focus on it. There is that rape of boys and there's rape of girls. So that's why we have that definition now that talks about unlawful penetration of a woman or a man in those parts of their bodies. So clearly that's what it is, unlawful penetration without the consent of the person. That is rape.
Now, would you say that, or what would you say is the cause of the increase in rape cases?
This might sound a bit off, but this is my opinion on the matter. And I think it is two things, actually, rather a potpourri of so many factors. A lack of education, a lack of awareness on this subject matter, right? We have also a patriarchal, system that we run that has actually, in a way, contributed to this happening in our society. So you have education, the lack of awareness on it, society itself, and the fact that we have low conviction of rape cases. That is, basically what I see as the cause of this. Why do I talk about education? A couple of months ago, I was having a conversation with a neighbor on this subject. And we're talking about taking a look at rape from the different perspectives. People think it's all about that violent penetration. People think it's you hitting a woman or hitting a man and then having to subdue them and having your way. But then there is subtle rape, right? And that's why there's a law that also includes, either by lack of consent or consent obtained by force. So people need to understand that these are the various phases or the various factors that all define rape. And at the end of that conversation, I think he realized that he's probably raped a person before. I didn't realize that was what it was. Because to him, he says, imagine a girl coming over to stay at my place, and I make a move. And she says no, but at the end of the day, she agrees. Lots of men have done this to women. Lots of them. In fact, it's almost like a wide general belief that if a man is alone with a woman and he doesn't make a move, it makes him less a man. Your boys look at you and tell you chickened out. They tell you, yes, you might say no, but give it a try. Who says so? Where was that ever written that that's the way it should be done or that's what you should do? So you see, clearly, most women at the end of the day give in those kind of cases because they say to themselves, if I allow this guy ask me one more time, who is to say what he will do to me? So you see, it's not just all about getting a woman in a dark corner or with your friends, hit her, pin her down and get all violent. It happens in so many ways.
So it means no is no.
No is no.
Regardless of how she says it.
And I tell people all the time, even if you have started, even if, there's already what we term foreplay and you think she's already in the mood for it, if halfway along the way or whatever she says or he says no, just stop.
Some people have said that one of the reasons why we are recording an increase in rape cases is because of the lockdown of the country. Generally, anyway, in the world, there was a lockdown. Would you say that? I
find that laughable. I honestly find that laughable. Like, there is no correlation. I don't get it. I mean, there's a partial lift in the lockdown right now. People are allowed to move about. Nobody stops you anymore to say, are you going to the office or are you going to your boyfriend's place? Nobody stops you from saying, are you going to the supermarket or are you going to see a commercial sex worker? So there's nothing stopping you, right, from driving to the house or walking to the house of an adult like you who would grant you consent for you to do what you need to do. So I do not think it's because anybody has been locked. Nobody was locked up in a cell, and that's why we're having this increase. It's always been there. It just happened that we had this very gory incident, and we're talking about it. And give it a couple of months now, it's going to die down. You see, because after all the talk, after all the hashtags, what do? We have refused to address the major issues. And that is why I say we need to educate to stop rape.
You know, social media has played its own role in spreading the information, but sometimes you see people accusing people of rape on social media as well. Whether it's true or not, I think social media gives the verdict. I've heard cases where a particular individual was accused of rape, and after the accusation on social media, committed suicide. What is the role of social media in the fight against rape?
So the thing is, you have very little control of what happens really on social media. I mean, you have all sorts of people on social media, those who are chasing clout, those who just want to hurt people, we call them the trolls, or whatever it is that happens there. But then you also have a system that makes it very difficult for you to get to that point where you want to express yourself. So it's almost like the general platform or the general court for you to speak out and let the world fight for you. Now, it's also behoves on the authority to pick out what is the truth and what's not the truth. Yes, the damage on the person's personality has already been done by virtue of what you've said, but then that is why we move a step further. There's a case on ground right now where a girl accuses celebrity of rape and celebrity is suing. It's very simple. If you have your facts, right, if you're very sure that that happened, do not be intimidated. Go ahead to do what you need to do. When the issue of Bill Cosby came up, I mean, who would ever think that Bill Cosby would do such? The victims who came out earlier to speak, his lawyers looked at him and said, who was going to believe you? This guy was a father figure for Black America. Even though he admitted at some point that those who are still divided about the matter till today. So irrespective of, right, if you think you know this is what this person has done, you have evidence to back this up, you've put your voice out there, then fight to defend yourself.
It's good you brought up about Bill Cosby's case. I want to know, is there a time frame to report rape cases? We've seen situations where 10, 20, 30 years down the line, someone comes up to say, Mr. A or Mrs. B raped me, and it's like, there is no evidence. Is there a time frame for reporting rape cases?
In as much as it would be really lovely to get the victim to speak up within, say, 5-10 minutes. This is why I go back to the issue of educating people about rape. It is not easy. Now, understand the system that we run. A girl or a boy is raped. First of all, there's fear from the perpetrator himself, who tells you, if you tell anybody, I'm going to kill you. But you see, I always say the perpetrator is the least problem in the whole discussion. You know, we're looking at the fear from the family and fear from society. When you speak up, the blame game that comes in. So you have a girl who's sitting down, something has just happened to her, she's asking herself, what will my mom say if I tell her? Will they say it's my fault doing what I just did? Will the society see me as that woman who has been raped? And we must understand that society still looks down on women who have been raped. And I keep asking the question, did they also look down on men who have been raped as well? Because society has, to a very large extent, put the dignity of the woman in her vagina, right? So the thing is, when a woman is raped, it means her dignity has been taken off her, and no one's dignity is in their vaginas. So if we can take off that burden, right, that we put on the vagina, I think, you know, what they call them, victims will be able to step up to say, this is what happened to me in the last 1 minute or in the last 2 minutes. But you see, at that point it's happened, she's going through a lot in her mind. First of all, trying to come to terms with what has happened. It's easier said than done when people say, oh, speak up. But understand this victim has just been abused and has to come to terms with who will believe and who will not believe her. So most women, when you hear them come out 10 years, 5 years later, it's because one person had become bold enough to speak up, and then they jump on it to say, okay, they're going to call me, they're going to look down on me as a rape victim or the girl who has been raped. I'm not going to be the only one. We're now in a group. So we have to tackle that issue. We have to let people understand what rape is. Let them understand what the victim goes through.
You know, I want us to also talk about the solutions to this, because like you said earlier, it's about the girl child and the boy child.
Yes.
But on the flip side of this rape cases, some people want to get vendetta or whatever it's called, and they accuse people falsely for whatever reasons. Is there any law that would, you know, penalize them for doing such?
Well, I haven't really researched on that or checked up on that, but clearly, of course, if you lie against a person, you know, to bring down their personality or whatever, of course, there are laws for that to begin with, because it's the person's image.
Slander.
You don't just come up and say, you know, what you call it. You don't just get up and say, a ghost rape, there's a name attached to it, and as long as you're
well, like the case of the band
and this, and that's why I keep saying education is very key. So the police force that's going to step in, who you're reporting to also investigate this, how much do they know about it? Be it slander, libel, whatever term you want to call it. How much do they know about rape? How much do they understand it? Because if they understand it well, then they can approach investigation better. Right. So you don't have a situation where if the celebrity really was guilty and you step in front of a policeman, the policeman looks at the celebrity who is larger than life to him and looks at you and listens, Madam, who are you? I think you're just trying to rip this person off. Sit down. They don't even bother. Right? Because of course he has the clout. So maybe he brings some kind of, top legal gun to represent him. And you who's brought your case dies down. So the police has to be educated to understand what to look out for. To understand that there are things you need to go back to the records. Even if it's 5 years back, we need to get that. Timmy DeColo's wife. Exactly. Look at the case that has happened. Even all the comments and all the documentation, everything that has been done, we haven't heard about anything since then. So it really helps to make you understand, if it comes to the table of a policeman who does not understand how to go about it, he also doesn't want to offend the parties involved, you will get silence. So we cannot push away education. Exactly.
You've been talking about education, but what will be the solutions? Some of us are educated. You find out some of the perpetrators are educated men and women. So what solutions would you prefer to end this menace?
Clearly, it starts with the family. People say it starts from here, then the family, and then society. But you see, no one just grows up on their own. We are formed, our characters are formed by what happens around us and whatnot. So let's take it back to the family. How many of us are talking to our children? In all honesty, the focus has been on girls a lot. There's a whole lot of burden. I'm sure you went through that as well growing up. What you should do for you to be a good wife. What you should do so men don't call you.
When you wake up.
When you should wake up, how you should walk, how you should sit to begin with. I don't remember anybody sitting down and talking to the boys about the same thing and telling them that what you call tapping when you're at school is wrong. That's where this whole thing about consent begins from. They call it tapping current. So boys think it's okay to touch a girl's bum when she walks past, and then you graduate into rape. Because you see, this is something you also always saw as fun. So it needs to start from us educating our boys. Nobody dropped from the sky and became a rapist. It started from within. Some of what they observed, maybe how they saw their fathers treat their moms, how they saw their brothers treat their girlfriends or their cousins. So we need to start from the family. Sit your boy down and ask him questions. Talk to him. Let him understand this is where you cross the line. We need to put those lessons out.
All right, a great way to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Onyi Sunday, the convener, Educate to End Rape campaign. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for having me on the show. All right, we'll take another break. And when we come back, there's more news. Please stay with us.